All right, so it's actually kind of hot outside. So I'm going to try to record this with the windows open. Oh, I should turn my fan up. That's what I should do. But the windows are open, so if there's a lot of car noise, I apologize. We'll just make do. And you'll want to make do because this is not only the 4th installment of our Joseki for Kyus series, I think this is going to be the most exciting Joseki video based on the other comments on the other Joseki videos. Because in one of the previous videos, we talked about this Joseki. And this is one of the most common Josekis that get played on any sort of high-level game. Like, this is, just so incredibly known and common and boring, and everyone knows all the variations kind of thing. And Q players don't. So it was really nice to spend a whole video talking about this and introducing you all to the world of this Joseki. But far and away, the comments and messages I received after posting that video were such that none of you were interested in playing this move or knowing about this move, because you said all the other dumbass Qs that you play against all play this move. And so this is the Joseki we're going to focus on today. And so I anticipate if you're a Q player and you're watching this, this has been like the bane of your existence. Like, this is such like a normal Q Joseki. This is a professional Joseki. Like, this is a legitimate move. But none of the Q players know what to do after this. This is, apparently just run amok. It's just disease of Q players to automatically play this in response to the low-pincer. And the reason why they do is because it works, because black has no idea what to do here, right? Black has 2 stones that are split and has no idea how to continue. And so today, you hopefully will watch this video and have an understanding of what should happen, what sort of things should happen after white jumps out here. You should also have an understanding for why white doesn't do this automatically, and most of the time doesn't. Like, this is not the most natural white move. But in the end, still have an appreciation for it and know when it is appropriate and when to use it, and just have a new level of confidence to how to play this Joseki. So I know in any series I start, right, like Sandbagger series or US Go Congress series, I think the first video in the series is always like the most watched. And I suspect for the Joseki for Q's videos, that's going to be true as well. That's always going to get the one that's going to get the most views, the most people interested in. They'll watch it and be like, okay, that's cool, and never watch any other video in the series. But at the same time, I'm hoping that maybe some word of mouth will go around. Maybe some people will share this information with other players at their own skill level in terms of what to do with this. Because I think, above almost all other Josekis, this is probably the one that encompasses Q-ness the most, right? I mean, Q players, right, they tend to like 4-4 because it's easier than 3-4. Everyone approaches, and, every Q player knows this, and every Q player knows this, but not every Q player knows this. So this is like the first step into the world of unknown, and this is the most natural response. So hence, I'm going to declare this the most Q'd Joseki right now. I have no idea if that's accurate or true, but if you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments. All right, so this is the situation where we're at. Black actually has a couple choices here. The 2 I'm most interested in showing you are this one and this one. And they are slightly different with slightly different intentions. And let's just say they're slightly different. Let's start with this one, because I think this one's easier. Black usually chooses this one when black is looking to settle the corner and take corner territory. It is less interested in what happens to the side over here. There are some other factors, especially what happens with the top, if there's white group or black group on the top. If black can develop it, again, black is more likely to play this. If he can't, he's more likely to play this, so that's also a factor. As well as actually the bottom right is actually a factor for choosing this or this as well. I'm just going to go with the assumption for right now that black will play this. Well, black doesn't really care what white gets. Black is just interested in the most amount of profit. And the most normal response here for white is here. Now, again, I have a whole ton of Q players watching this video, and every Q player and their mother wants to know what happens if white plays here. And this is a really bad exchange in this case. And I'm gonna come back to this move and show you why it's a bad exchange, but I'm gonna show you what's supposed to sort of happen. Normally in this case, again, we expect white to come here. Most common move for black is now here. The proper move for white is to actually quash this stone at this point. Black tries to connect underneath. White pulls back. Black keeps going. White Ataris. Now black effectively can Tanuki. And that's sort of the end of like a super simple version of this Joseki. And we can sort of analyze what each player got. Number one, it looks like black got a huge corner. It's not actually entirely accurate. There's actually some tricks later on. So for instance, if white takes this stone, the stone is actually kind of like Sente taking this stone. So if black doesn't respond, there's a peep here. And if black does this, is this the next move? I forget what the next move is. I just know you're not supposed to connect this. I think it's there. There's actually basically white life here in the corner. That is quite problematic, or at the very least a ko. There's your ko. There's a simple way to get ko. But giving white 2 moves in the corner is really big deal, especially when if, let's say, black tries to do something like this and then block, there's this sort of Sente move too as well. So it's very, very difficult for black to poke out eyes there. That wasn't the correct sequence at all. I should do more research before I make these videos. See when I learn these Joseki, I just remember, all right, there's a move here for white. And I don't necessarily learn the pattern, just learn the move after what this stone is taken. But this is Joseki, all right? Up into this part, if you know this, you've done good. Let's review it one more time, right? Black pincers, white jumps out, black defends low, white comes on top, black sacrifices the stone, comes underneath, white pulls back, pushes, and Atari. All right, so let's go back to talk about what white got about, because we talked about black basically getting a huge corner minus this little sort of Sente potential problem, with this peep here later on. White does need to capture this stone first, otherwise there's too much Aji. Black can fight back if white tries to invade too early. What did white get? Well, white actually has a very nice shape in order to make eyes. White also has very strong influence facing down the right. Now, by itself, white doesn't have any real territory or real number of points here, but certainly the potential is useful. And so if you look at this Joseki and you're like, oh, black got so much, again, there's Aji here, there's Aji in the corner. White is super solid, and white has potential to make more points on the right than black gets in the corner with another, 2 or 3 moves. So if white has this corner, white will be very happy if white already owns this corner. If, on the other hand, we mentioned what happens if white tries to go in the corner first and prevent all this from happening. Now, there's 2 choices here for black. Probably the predominant one is to actually just defend the corner. And you might notice that this sort of move looks like it prevents this R15 move. And indeed, you'd be not entirely wrong. Like, this stone is very useful. But now when black leans on this, when white leans on this, black will play a different version of the Joseki. And we're going to see this pattern I'm going to play across the right-hand side of the board a few times in a row. And the problem with this is that, number one, black lived over here, has a base over here. Black has a base over here. White has no base, has no eyes as of the moment, and has cuts. And so if white thinks these stones are valuable, white probably has to fix somewhere around here. Normally, white would like to keep developing this influence, but that depends on the overall position. And so in the end, we see that because there's still these defects here, white still has to owe a move. Oops. There's my F5 key. This exchange for this exchange isn't necessarily good for white. Because if we remove these 2 stones, there's actually still a corner invasion. So this is why this is very much frowned upon, and people will yell at you if you're a Q player and you show it to a Don game, like you're doing this little foot sweep thing into the corner, and black gets stronger players will tell you it's really bad, and you look at it and you go, well, why? Look, I take away some of their territory. Well, Okay, let's go another step back and pretend we didn't do that. And go back to the move tool. And instead we're going to do this. And instead of kicking this way, we're going to play the same pattern for black as we did in the last variation. But again, this exchange was not made. And I want to compare. All right, so now let's say white plays here again. And now the thing I'm going to tell you is that white isn't worried about fixing here. And this should make, well, hopefully a little bit sense to you if you've sort of following or can see where this is going. But if not, I'll spell it out. Even though there are all these cuts, white doesn't care if white gets cut. White can go take a big move somewhere else. And we're saying, well, hey, but black's just going to cut all this. You're going, you know what, that's great. We still have this move in the corner. And with moves like this, it becomes very difficult, right, because there's this cut here, for black to keep his corner. And so by sacrificing one stone, we can actually get the entire corner. Whereas in the previous versions, if you imagine white had made this exchange, right now we can still be cut. We actually care about the cut, so we're probably going to end in gote, right? Because we have 3 stones here that will all die if we get cut, or at least 2 of them, I should say. Oh, that car was kind of loud. Again, I apologize for the road noise. Hopefully it's palatable. And now black gets Sente to play the next biggest move, and we still don't have a base. Meanwhile, black has 2. So this is a very, very subtle distinction, right? Go is a very, very subtle game in general, but I think this is a good example of that subtlety. So when black plays here, right, black is actually looking to just defend the corner. That doesn't work as well when black plays here. But just to recap again, we never want to make this exchange because we want to keep that corner open because white can always invade it. And if black wants to take the corner, well, then we get the outside. And usually, if you think about it, the outside is what we wanted anyway, right? That's why we jump out to begin with. When we want the outside, naturally, we go back to the 4th move in this Joseki sequence, we play this move. If we didn't want the outside, we would play this move. If we just wanted the cash. So, in this version, again, black defensive, and everybody gets what they want, right? Black gets a lot of points. White gets to be solid and on the outside. So it's very, very nice. Very nice Joseki. Okay. Sometimes, instead of white doing this, though, white will already have strong positions in the middle of the board, or even extended along the bottom here. Let's say white already has this, and maybe this, and this. Let's just play out some Josekis, sort of around here. I don't know. This isn't quite what I wanted. Let's just pretend it makes sense. And I don't know. Here. This isn't gonna quite. Actually, that's too strong. Oh, I should pre-make these examples. It's better. Better Joseki. I just want to give. This will be better. All right. Pretend this already happened. It's the Joseki we saw in a previous Joseki for Kyus video. Oh, this is terrible. No, because white already has a stone here. No, I can't make the damn example. Ah! All right, anyway. Let's just pretend that. Okay, good. So, in this case, I guess leaning is still okay. I don't know. I don't know. Pick a move. I need to pre-think these examples. Oh my god, I just wasted a minute of all of your lives. Please hate me for it. Let's say white actually wants to develop this whole bottom side. And leaning feels a little bit unsatisfactory. Maybe black has another stone around here reducing already or something. So white will actually counterpincer. And this is possible. And I think you'll maybe see this one more often. But again, this is not that common in professional games. You do see this in amateur games quite frequently. And in this case, often you'll get into this sort of running fight thing. This is okay. Okay, I just want to go. This is probably the variation that I expect most Kyus to get involved with, or at least see happen most frequently. And this is okay if white has a lot of potential over here. If white doesn't have a lot of potential, this is going to be good for black, quite honestly, because it's going to be very difficult for white to know how to use this wall. So if you're playing this Joseki, and it always ends with, you know, basically both players just running out, well, whoever has this area, that's going to be better for them. Okay, so I do want to acknowledge that, like, you can play this way. It's not really an official Joseki. You need supporting stones in order to just do this running fight thing, but it is possible. All right, let's go back to real patterns. We'll go here again and jump out. All right, so before we started with this pattern, and I think we started to get a feeling for some of the ways it should end up. When black plays here, though, it's a little bit different. And again, go as super subtle. In this case, when white plays here, black usually, almost always, does not play here and make the same kind of exchange. And if we play it out, you can kind of see, especially later on, let's say black takes another corner or something, that there's actually a lot more aji now going on in this corner, where white has a much easier time just invading it all. If we protect this way, of course, there's sort of other cuts that are possible, although I think it still might be correct to peep first. I'm not really, again, I just know this is generally bad for black because of this move. There's a lot of problems with aji here. Maybe that one first. I don't know the sequence well enough. It's actually not easy though for white because of this push. If we defend this way, maybe just play there. No, that's not good looking either. I failed. Go failure. This move's supposed to be really killer. Blanc has to play there. Oh, maybe we just come out this way and just leave over here. So the point is, when black plays high, white has invasion possibilities directly without even removing the aji from the rest of his group. So we usually don't, again, moral of the story, when white plays high, we usually don't kick this. Instead, black usually plays this variation. And now from here it can go two different places depending on whether or not black has the ladder. If black wants to play this variation, black doesn't need the ladder. This is totally fine. You could say it's probably a little suboptimal since black has a ladder and black could play a more violent variation. But this is still playable, and white still probably needs to move around here. Some of you might ask why not to play this one. This looks more efficient, right? If white's threatening to surround you, get out faster. But the problem is white gets another forcing move, and it actually helps this aji in here a lot. Because if you don't do this, if you play this way, there's actually some peep and cut aji, because you're stronger here. So we usually don't play this one unless it has some sort of other life and death effect over here, or connection or something. Okay. So this is playable. Again, it's that similar pattern that we just saw in the previous variation too. It's possible. Whoops, not that one. And again, white can leap in the corner, right, and live there and just have a wall on the inside, give black a base over here, and steal the corner points. Like, totally doable. Like, this is pretty normal, pretty standard fare. All right, when black does have the ladder, black can cut here. And this cut is super killer. And I'm going to suggest that, you know, if you're a Q player and your opponent jumps out and you respond here, and let's say your opponent knows a little bit, like he knows enough to play here, just do this. Like, even if you don't have the ladder, it'll probably work just fine for you. I want to show you why you need the ladder in a moment. But the next move for white is actually kind of hard to find. White needs to play here in order to make this any sort of reasonable result. Now the thing actually, so for the longest time I used to think this is the next move, and I think this is still playable. I think this is still listed in Kogos, though it's not really clear as to how good this is for black. This is the more natural, more common move, is to actually cut through here and just connect. White has to cover. Black comes back. white hanes, and this is actually looking really bad for black. Like, look at this shape, right? This looks terrible. But black's going to capture this stone as profit. And then you'll see that white kind of has a problem. Like, even though it looks like white has this whole outside, white cannot capture this one stone cleanly. If he has the ladder, he can, right? Then there's no problem, right? There's this ladder that goes right through here. Or rather, here, I guess. Here we can put a few more stones out. Right? So if this is the ladder we're talking about. It needs to be for black. If white doesn't have this ladder, though, white needs to sort of figure out how to make a base over here with these stones. Something like this. Maybe white can play further. White could probably play there. Maybe just there is safer. I'm not really sure. But, you know, black's going to go on the attack and continue to pester these 3 stones. And later on, you know, these corner moves are actually really quite large. And depending on whether or not black can scoop out the base this way, black can consider playing something like this. Although this is very risky immediately, right? If black doesn't have a follow-up after this move, there's not much there. But there is some danger things for black to do. If black just wants the corner, this makes a very large corner. It actually makes, this is actually useful as influence. White can Atari at once, but that's about it. This is still very useful for influence for black. And we just have this fight here where white seems to be at a disadvantage because white needs moves over here as well as over here. So this will be a good result for black. I know it looks kind of strange, but white is going to be very busy coming out of it, even though black's shape looks stupid. And so that cut is good. There are, and again, usually when I play this move, or when I have played this move, it turns out I haven't been punished by it. This is apparently the best response for white to play. Usually white will play something like this, or try to, I don't know, fix this somehow, but all these variations end up going pretty well for black. Again, assuming that black has the ladder over here. So, I don't know. This move, again, I think this move has worked traditionally very well for me, but white should play here. In which case, white gets all this forcing stuff. Maybe there. And then it's sort of a fight. It's not really clear what will happen here. I'm not even 100% sure it's going to end up good for black. It looks like black has enough liberties. So, you know, black can make these sorts of exchanges. And then this move actually connects, believe it or not. If white just pokes through, white actually loses its capturing race by, I think, 1 move. Oops, sorry. Let's do this better order. Let's say white gains another liberty. White can take this Atari, but it's meaningless. White can try to make eyes. Start the capturing race. Yeah, and white's exactly 1 move behind. And so white would lose the entire corner and still have this terrible potato group that has no friends and is cut off. That's a pretty tasty potato group. So anyway, you know, this move is still playable, but white doesn't. Let's say it's very complicated because there's a lot of different ways white can respond to this, and this move as well. Like for instance, white could play here and take away a liberty, and in order for you to connect this way again, you win the capturing race by 1 move, so you need to gain a liberty first. But maybe white already has a stone over here, so instead of coming down, white can actually play this move. You know, there's a lot of factors. We're getting quite far away from the original corner in a fight like this, so it's a little dangerous, but this is possible. You can play this way. Okay, so to recap, or just backtrack just a little bit, again, black can play high if he's less interested in the corner. He just wants to maintain global presence. You especially want to play high almost always if you have the ladder and are planning on cutting here. Like if this is your plan, because you have a ladder stone over here somewhere, the high stone is more useful, especially for when you link back. Again, normal move for white. Probably most normal move for black here. Let's connect, block, cut, come underneath, kill the stone. Oh, some of you are probably wondering what happens if white tries to run out. This is usually a terrible idea, because number one, that was a big truck, sorry. Number one, you're actually helping black's shape quite a bit. And then if you try to save the stone this way, usually black will just give this up, force you into an Atari, and now you have another potato group here. And meanwhile, black actually is starting to build 5th line territory, and it has a million liberties. And so if you can't capture the stone in a ladder, this fight is really heavy on white. You know, you have a 3 liberty potato group. So, let's say white has the ladder. And so when white has a ladder, black can't really cut here, right? Because you'll see the stone will just eventually get caught in a ladder. So black has to crawl this way, jump, 1, 2, 3, jump, very, very common. Usually white will continue, because again, what white is getting when white jumps out is central influence. That's what white was looking for. And now white can, in some circumstances, white can play here if white is already attacking the corner or something. But usually white can play some sort of tanuki or play some other big move. One thing, actually I'm going to go back. One thing to note is that when black plays the low variation, and instead of cutting, has to play this variation, or instead of also nubbing the stone here. I did say nubbing. I'm not sure if that's an appropriate word to use here in this context, but I did. Instead of following up directly, white can also play this kind of move, which is actually quite nice for building this central influence. And again, even though black has a base here, there's really not that many points here. There's a defect we can reduce on both sides. So you don't have to worry. And we know black is solid and safe. You don't have to worry about giving black a lot of points when black plays this variation. So some other things you might see. Let's say you respond here, right? The same thing applies. If white jumps in, just block. And if white tries to pincer, totally fine. It'll look something like this, and these 3 white stones are super sad. Of course, if you jump here and white's compelled to answer here, you don't actually have to play another move up here. You can actually come on top of these 2 stones. And this move hurts these 2 stones a lot, because it no longer means, first of all, that your 4 stones can be attacked. Like, they're just out and have eye shape even. White will probably take this peep, so maybe the eye space isn't quite as good as it could be, but you're out. However white tries to make a base, you're just going to run out and attack white with you. And the more you run out, the more pressure gets put back on this white group. So it's sort of like white has 2 weak groups and you have 1, so that's going to end well for you. So we're happy just to make sure that white doesn't take the base away. Occasionally, and again this is a lot more common when black has this here, there are circumstances for which this side is more important, for whatever reason. So you can play here, and this is very rare though. But the reason why you can do this is later on, this move's quite a big move to make black completely safe, but it also allows a cut actually at Q14, which gives white some nightmares. So for instance, like this. So this is actually, these white 4 stones are actually not that great of shape because of this and this defect. But we don't see that as common when we play high, because now if white takes away our base and we try to make a base over here, white will actually just scoop out the base immediately. Whereas, again, when this stone is here, we play some move over here, right? Again, if you want to change direction and make this side more important, white scoops out the base. We still have a base, right? Like, anything white does to follow up isn't going to take away the fact that you still sort of have a base. So there's that. What else could your opponent do? If your opponent does this, you can. There's actually a number of things you can do here that all are good. You can even just play here, and this is actually good enough for black. White can make shape quite easily, but again, white, you know, it's like fair. This is fair. Let's just say that. I guess you play this move when you want to build something big over here. Usually this type of move, well, that's a truck, high truck. Often your opponent will try to play this. This is usually a pretty bad idea for black. It looks like white has a million cuts, and certainly black has to take advantage of them. But it's way harder to do that than it looks. Like, it's way harder than you think it is. Especially if white has a ladder here. Or something that, you know, white can push out and fight, and now... I guess... Yeah, black needs to have, like, all ladders for this to have any hope. Yeah, black can capture these, but not sure what the cost is in the corner. So basically, if black peeps and tries to cut you this side, same thing. You just Atari and just fight in this case. And you have liberties. You have the outside. Black needs to respond something over here immediately. I'm actually not sure what the best move is right now. It might even just be like this. Oh no, that feels bad. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. But fighting is totally an option, so don't worry about the peep so much. There's also, if you... there's another way here. If black cuts... No, maybe this is the only way. Maybe this is the only way. Basically, black has to find some sort of move like this to threaten something, but that's terrible. Yeah, this Hane is important. Maybe there. But black really needs that cut. But black also needs this move. If black connects, you get that for free. And everything's painful. Do you win liberties? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. You do, so you can play here. I think. Maybe not. Oh, no, you each have 4. No. Oh, no, but white can get more with that move. And sometimes that move. Oh, not that move. This move. All right, so at this point I'm mostly rambling. Let's recap the basics before we head out here. Again, I'm calling this the ultimate Q Joseki. Black has 2 choices here. Low, basically if you just want to keep your corner presence. High, if you're more interested in the outside and fighting. So, you know, whatever your mood is that day. If you play low, this is going to be the most common result. Where white gets the outside and you get a big fat corner. And again, if you're a Q player, white's probably not going to have any clue how to invade this, so you might as well just count that as solid territory. If you play high, you should expect this move. And if black has a ladder, you should play this and do this sort of fighting variation. If white doesn't play this move, if white does anything to defend over here, you just won the game. The stone is huge and white has no base. If white defends this way... Can you play this? I don't know. You might be able to play this way. This might be pretty violent. Pretty violent. And again, you have the ladder, so we know that stone is good. Maybe you lose the corner, though. But you would capture the middle. I don't know. I don't know what's supposed to happen if your opponent... I mean, you have to read it, basically. But anyway, if you have the ladder, you can expect to push up and cut and be totally fine. If you don't have the ladder, you still push up and then just crawl. This is also fine. This is also acceptable sometimes, even if when you do have the ladder. Again, if there's outside situations that demand it. White normally should follow up here, but again, it depends on the situation. And, you know, white, in this case, white is very likely to actually play here directly. But since white also just built the center influence, white probably will be trying to find a way to use it immediately before invading the corner. Oh, yeah, one other variation that's perhaps way simpler. Jump out, black plays a move. White can immediately just take the corner. Like, this is also totally fine. I saw Guo Juan. She actually gives a number of lectures, or not a number, she's given a number of lectures on this Joseki. Again, it's one of her most requested things as well. She's 5-dan Chinese player, lives in the Netherlands. And she really likes this, actually, for white. Because even though black got this influence, it's sort of already been messed with. Right? White has 2 stones to reduce it, and white has the corner. So she likes this. You do see other pro players play this as well, although probably not quite as common as she would lead you to believe. So there you go. So, the ultimate Q Joseki. I hope that you're all no longer scared of it. I hope that you all embrace it and, you know, don't try to overplay it. Like, if you're white and you're playing this all the time, you're doing something wrong. Again, most of the results for white are kind of weird, where like white gets a wall and maybe a corner, or you give black a really big corner and you get a wall here. Like, a bunch of things kind of happen that you wouldn't expect to happen. And again, if your ultimate plan is to try this sort of thing, I mean, this is possible with support. Like, this is a global strategy. Locally, it's kind of a big loss for white, but it is possible in the global context. You can try this. Although after you jump out again, black will probably not do your bidding, and you'll get punched into, or play some variation like this, where black gets a big corner, but you get the outside, and maybe black lives over here. And so you don't really get any points, but you didn't die, so that's cool. So anyway, definitely not as common as this move, or this move, which we haven't actually talked about yet, but is also possible, or perhaps even this move, at least at high-level play. So there you go, the most Q Joseki in the world. I hope you enjoy. Come back next time. Thanks all.